Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's talk, 3 Ways to Lift the Burden of Guilt. I'm Dawn Wiggins, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am joined today with Dagmar Gattel, SEO expert, and Zala. Zala, how do I pronounce your last name?
Britzel.
Britzel. Zala is so kind to join us. It's 9 p.m. where she is, and I'm grateful to have her. So I'm going to allow Dagmar and Zala to introduce themselves.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Zala, she is my dear friend, and she's Slovenia, right, Zala?
Yes.
She is in Slovenia. We met, believe it or not, online in a Twitter chat, and since then we really hooked up. And I think it's so wonderful when you bring all the people in your life together, because she's an entrepreneur like Dawn and I, and Zala and I, we work in online marketing, and there's really, like, the guilt pain is everywhere there. So I'm so excited that Zala is joining us today. I'm Dagmar Gattel. I'm an SEO consultant, coach, and strategist, and I help entrepreneurs and small businesses to turn their expertise into a global business. Zala, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, both ladies. I always say ladies because I feel so warm and welcome in this nice little circle that we have. Thank you, Dawn, so much, and Dagmar, for letting me join today. Yes, it's true. I've connected to Dagmar via Twitter, and I've also been able to meet and talk and discuss with Dawn, who's helped me with so much food for thought that I cannot count it on my 10 fingers. And I'm a digital marketing and also a certified coach, helping people to find their stories, find their paths, and it is either individually or business-wise.
Thank you, Zala. Welcome. So you might be curious how a licensed marriage and family therapist doing a blab show about guilt relates to these beautiful entrepreneurial women. But what I always am known for saying with my clients is that what we do in life, we do in life. Meaning, if we do it in our personal life, whether it's in our relationships with our loved ones or our family or our intimate partners, we're also going to do it in business. And so these ladies are doing such a wonderful job of supporting me and spreading the message and really linking the pieces together and being able to explain even deeper how all of these things can help us to live more productive, satisfying, and happy lives, both personally and professionally. So I love having them both here with us. Today's topic is guilt. And it was interesting when I was preparing for this topic, what I noticed the theme was is that when people talked about guilt, they felt like it was a burden, like they were carrying a heavy weight. And so that's where the title came from today, was lifting the burden of guilt. And what I want you guys to know about guilt is that it's defined as either an emotional experience or a cognitive experience, meaning a thought process that can be based in either reality or a distorted thought process. So that's the first thing to understand, is that sometimes our guilt comes from distorted thinking.
I don't understand what that is.
Okay, so sometimes, you mentioned your dad earlier before we were recording, but sometimes when we feel guilty, it's because we think that we have made a choice or engaged in a behavior that's outside of our own moral standard. However, it becomes distorted when we're really measuring ourselves against somebody else's moral standard, and it's not really ours. So, for instance, I might feel guilty for something because I'm worried about what somebody else would think is quote unquote bad. So that would be distorted. It's not that I really did something wrong or bad, or that I really functioned outside of my own moral standard. It's that I'm worrying about the judgment from outsiders in, and that I might be living my life based on their moral code of conduct or their standards. So that's where it's important to really find a way to discern, is this real? Is this really something that needs to be adjusted? Did I really hurt someone else? Or is it somebody else's opinion or judgment that something hurtful?
Yeah, makes total sense. And like what I said before, the blab show, what I shared, and I tell you, it's so funny. I'm going through a divorce right now, right? And I can hear my father's voice again. And like, this is my third marriage. The first marriage, a divorce. The second, my husband died, and now it's a divorce again. And I tried it for 13 years and it's just not working. But I still can hear my father's voice what will the people think, the society, how can you do this? Did you try everything? And that for sure made me leaving later than earlier, because that's always in my mind. And since I recognized it, it's just easier to analyze myself and think, no, I did everything. And sometimes it's better to move on as to stay and be stuck and live in something because the society could say something about you.
So you just hit the nail on the head. That length of time that you stayed longer was probably based in some distorted guilt. I don't know, but based on what you're sharing, and I love that you are so vulnerable and open and willing to share about your divorce. That's actually what I based this blog post and this topic around, was my experience with divorce. And there were so many feelings of guilt that I had to move through. Some of them were reality based and some of them weren't. So I had to sort them through.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Sala, don't you think you have that sometimes with clients too?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I was just thinking, I don't have, I was not married yet, so I don't have this kind of experience with marriage or divorce. But for me, for example, I think that for women in general, or also entrepreneurs, it's also when you reach a certain age, they start to ask you, what about children? Why career first and children then? What will others think? But you need to take time for your motherhood and everything. And it's what you've mentioned, what you've both mentioned, and also you, Dagmar, with especially with clients, is so often that a lot of times their problems or their challenges are actually based on this maybe on some experience which isn't really true, or maybe on some facts that are not their own. Actually, they've heard it from their parents, from others, and it is, I've been seeing this so often now. So I think this topic is just on point today.
So I'm gonna refine it even further, this idea of distorted guilt. Distorted guilt is when we are feeling guilty for something that's outside of our control.
Mm.
That's something that, if it's not something that we can or want to make an impact around, and it's somebody else trying to put a burden on us, or it's somebody else's problem, and we feel guilty about that, that's distorted. It's not ours to feel guilty about. Does that help further hone the idea of distorted?
Yeah.
So for the duration of this talk, I want to really hone in on the times where we realize there is something that we screwed up, and how we can lift the burden of the guilt from when we really did do something that we could have done differently, or we could have handled in a more positive way. So I'm going to teach you the 3 things that I did specifically, not that I've only done this once, because I always say I tend to make mistakes 5 or 6 times to make sure I'm really good at it. But I'm going to share with you the 3 things that I did specifically to lift the burden of getting divorced. And it can apply to really any and all circumstances where you realize you kind of screwed up. So the first thing that I did was I found safe places to share my guilt and to talk about the things that I really truly did that were not kind, that were really pretty ugly. And the reason that this is so important is because when we carry the guilt and we hold on to it, it keeps us in an emotional prison. And it keeps us feeling stuck in that yucky place. And typically the fear of sharing the ugliness of whatever it is that we did keeps us silent and keeps us in pain. And so the key is really to find probably more than one person, but you could start with one person that will listen to you unconditionally and accept you regardless of what you have to say, and that will be able to demonstrate empathy and join you in your humanness, meaning that they can say, me too, maybe not the exact same thing, but they can say, oh yeah, I've screwed up, I've hurt other people, you're not alone, it's okay. And I want to make something clear. This isn't about if I go and I share my guilt with someone that I'm expecting them to condone it or to say, oh, it's okay, that's okay. We're not looking for an okay in this sharing. We're just looking with a I understand you're human, I can empathize with you, and I'm not judging you. I love you still, I accept you still, because I understand that you're human, and that's what we humans do. We make mistakes.
Yeah, Dawn, when I was hearing at you, I was just really thinking of a few situations, for example, because so often, also myself, sometimes when you're in a difficult situation or when you're in a difficult state, it's like, I think you are looking for these two options, either to avoid somebody, judging you, or somebody thinking, oh, what a loser, you didn't handle it well, you don't know what to do, or just, somebody to tap you and say, oh, I understand, it's okay, or, yeah, it could happen to anyone, but what I was hearing right now, it's like a total aha moment. It's just, maybe you need somebody who is just able to be in the situation together with you. Not saying correct or wrong or yes or so, but just somebody who can be there with you.
Exactly.
And I think what Sarah just said has something to do with empathy. Like, without a question, if you were in the situation or not, just not to judge and just to take yourself out of it and just be there.
Yeah.
Absolutely it. And there's several reasons why that function is so important. And one of them that we haven't touched on yet that I want to highlight, but I can see in the comment section a little bit that there's a little chat going on about remorse when people pass away. I don't want to, it's not a comparative situation, but in the instance of my divorce, I didn't have a willing participant to absolve me of my guilt. And so this work that we're talking about is work that I can do, that I have to do in order to be able to heal, because there wasn't someone that was willing or available to say, it's okay, I forgive you, or it's okay, let it go. So I had to figure out how to let it go without that absolution. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why being able to speak it out loud is so important, not because we're looking for someone to make it better for us, but just that we can have that experience of speaking it out loud and having somebody join with us and just empathize.
But you know what you just said is so important in Germany, right? Whatever you don't speak out loud, nobody will judge you on it. So you can have all the guilt in your head, and as long as you smile and as long as you pretend everything is fine, you can make your way through for the next 50 years. But as soon as you say something, you are out there and everybody will judge you. So what happens, nobody talks about their feelings, right? Because nobody wants to be the bad one. They all want to be the good one. And then in the night, in your nightmares, or whatever, in your thoughts, when you start hiding stuff, right? You have to consciously check what you are saying, how you say that. And I remember as my husband died, right? And it was like a sudden death. He was 36 and I was 32. I had consciously, for the first few months, and like it's devastating. You're sad, but sometimes you smile, right? Because just out of a situation that we had like godchildren, they came and just whatever, you did something and you felt happiness, you felt guilty. How can you feel happiness? Yeah. But this young widow feels happiness. Hopefully nobody saw you smiling, because then the whole village will speak about you. Look, she's already over him. Who knows what happened? And it was, I tell you, it was something else. It was an experience.
Yeah. And not just in Germany. Welcome.
In Slovenia too.
Yes, welcome to the same pattern also here.
You ladies, yeah, so what you ladies are identifying that happened, across the globe, I'm here to testify, and that brings us to our second thing, that pretty much the human race, and maybe even other races on other planets and other galaxies and solar systems, are all attempting to be perfect. And so the next thing that needs to be done in order to work through guilt is let go of the need to be perfect.
Yes.
And what's so interesting about that is that everyone I know, and much like you two can attest to, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we're all striving to be perfect. And it's such a curious irony because it's so impossible.
And it's so bad because what I said before, it limits me. It changed my personality, right? So suddenly I became quiet, and suddenly I became very insecure about, should I feel in this way? What should I feel? What I'm allowed to feel? And then after a while, especially then with your childhood and everything, you thrift away so much from who you really are that it takes you years to find yourself again.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Dagmar, I think for me, it was an even bigger challenge because we take all of this also into our business world. We take the same patterns
The Mother
into
Teresa
the business world, and then we find, the same judgmental either our fathers or mothers or, important others. And it's, I think as Dawn always tells us or teaches us, then it takes really skill, and it takes really dedication and personal growth to be wary of the triggers and to really be aware of what is going on and saying, okay, this is the pattern that I know and I'm trying to work on, or I'm trying to change. This was for me the biggest aha moment personally.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a process, and it's not familiar to us to be okay with being imperfect.
Yeah.
But it has been one of the most powerful personal development quests for me to let go of perfectionism. And that's why I wrote, the second thing I did was I let go of being perfect, mostly.
What is funny? And I'm learning that in my business life, right? In my entrepreneurial life. So more I try to be perfect, so less I help. So less I can make money because I focus on myself. I don't focus on my clients. I don't focus on the outcome. I don't focus on my goals. I focus on myself, that nobody will judge me. Nobody will criticize me. So I'm taking away my opportunity to grow faster, to help more, to enrich more. So since I got it and I can program myself easily, just from a logical perspective. As soon as I got it, I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. Good is the new perfect. And Kim said that too, my friend Kim Schipper. Good is the new perfect. I'm doing this because...
Good is the new perfect. Good enough. I had a mentor many years ago who used to tell me that, being good enough is pretty darn good. And in that same period of time when I was working for that mentor, I had the beautiful opportunity of recognizing this let go of being perfect, and what you were saying, Dagmar, about how when I'm being perfect, I'm focusing on myself instead of the client. As I often mention that on these shows, I have a chronic disease called cluster headaches. And I was having a really bad cycle of cluster headaches to the point where I needed to be hospitalized. And so I had to cancel some sessions for some clients. And I knew one in particular was going to be going out of the country for a period of time. And I was feeling so guilty about canceling the session and not receiving her and allowing her to do her homework and to have her space and time. And she was dealing with grief, and, the weight was just getting heavier and heavier, and I was getting sicker and sicker. And in the end, I canceled the session, and long story short, she came back from her trip out of the country, and she decided to do her homework while she was away. And she had a profound spiritual awakening. And what I learned is that in my choice to take care of myself by canceling that session, I allowed that client to find out her own solutions and to figure it out. And by doing that, she had probably a far more powerful experience than if I had tried to push myself and, let the guilt take control. And so that is a lesson I have carried with me. That was my
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Walter, I just see you have such great comments. Why don't you join us? Come in.
Yeah.
While Walter is coming in, I just thought about something, Dawn, and it went away. Let me see if it's coming back. Which is, I felt very guilty now going through the divorce that sometimes I really have a hard time. So I decided to tell my clients about it, right? So I'm going through a divorce here. That's how it is. And so if I have a hard time, just forgive me. And just because their response came back and said, no, everything's fine. If you have to cancel something, if you cannot do it, just tell us. And I never had to cancel anything. I always could do it. But just having the slight weight that I don't have to do it if I really cannot do it. And so it took away from the beginning that I would have to feel guilty not to try my best and just allow them to take care of me and help me.
Yeah.
Walter doesn't want. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time, because we love your comments, Walter.
Yes.
Do you want? Why don't you answer his comment, his statement, Dawn?
So Walter says we can define ourselves as perfect, but we can come close, but we're never perfect. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I love the book, The 4 Agreements, and one of the 4 agreements says always do your best. Mm-hmm. And so that is that's kind of what I hear you saying there, Walter, is always do your best. And then keeping in mind that when he talks about always doing your best, Don Miguel Ruiz, he says that part of doing your best isn't just excelling in one particular area of your life, like your work, but it also means doing your best in terms of taking care of yourself. And so that means not always doing it perfectly, but just doing your best. And sometimes our best is good enough. Like doing it good enough is our best, depending on what our limitations are at the time. And, you know, I'm hearing you guys share about grief. And divorce is certainly about grief also, whether it's about someone passed away or it's about some other loss or anything like that. A lot of times your best, we have to recalibrate. What is my best when I'm going through some kind of emotional crisis? Not going to be what my best is when I'm not in crisis.
Yeah.
So it's about being reasonable about what your expectations of yourself are.
Yeah. And the other thing what I learned from you, Dawn, and you gave me you're okay and the freedom. I do my best every day, right? It's not perhaps the best for everybody else. Perhaps they still will have something to criticize or what I could do more for them or in general. But it's the best what I can do every day in the situation I am in. So right now I'm doing my best. Perhaps it's not the best what I would do 2 months ago, but it's still the best I can do right now.
Yeah. Exactly, Dagmar. I hear you. So I wish I could send you a virtual hug. Virtual hug being sent at the moment. So just know that we are being there for you. But what when I was hearing you both, I was thinking about the situation that I had about a long-term friendship that kind of broke. But it was the situation where my really good friend was very sick, and she kind of demanded from me, or at the time I didn't know, to be her friend, her mother that she didn't have, her father, and so on. And basically one time that I couldn't be by her side, of course she wasn't able to understand it, and she kind of really split all the ties, and she didn't want to talk to me. And I was really at the time hurting, and I was really hurt. But it took me a long time. So then I decided I wanted to give her space, because at that time that was about it that we could do. But I felt I really still, when I'm talking about this, I felt so much guilt. And then I really had to, go step by step and saying, is this true? Is this mine? Is this coming from me, or is this something else? And it's still, when I think about her, I miss her terribly. But it was just, I still feel in my heart a little bit guilt, but, it's a process. It's an ongoing process. And yeah.
Zala, thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure there are so many folks out there that can relate to what you just shared. I know that I certainly can. And you've kind of wrapped up the whole talk in that one example, that you had to really go through what's mine, what's not mine, and that it's a process, and that there may still be painful feelings, and it is what it is. And, we don't know how it's going to turn out in the end. And so to resolve any lasting guilt, the important final thing that I will talk about today is being willing to change the things that you do have control over. And the things that I have control over boils down to one thing, and that's me. So if I can look at a situation and say, I really did screw up there, and that means if I want to really resolve the guilt, then I have to make the effort and do the work to change that thing that isn't working for me. And I hear people all the time say, well, that's just me. That's how I am. Well, if how you are is hurting other people, it's hurting you as well, because it's keeping you isolated. It's keeping you in conflict. It's keeping you in a stuck place emotionally. And really being able to overcome guilt means starting to do esteemable acts so that we can start feeling improved esteem if we're not feeling great about ourselves because we did something that has led to guilt and it's a legitimate harm. So if you've done a legitimate harm and you can identify a specific behavior, then now's the opportunity.
What?
No, Master.
No.
What happened?
At the most crucial moment, you know, Dagmar.
Yeah, absolutely. What Dawn just said just reminded me of something. Oh, no, she's gone. She's coming back. Just reminded me of something, and I think she's back. Do you know what reminded me of? As my husband died, right? Can you hear me, Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As my husband died, I felt horribly guilty that at the same time as he died, I worked like 24/7, worked, and he died. And I thought, I cannot believe this. I worked to have a better life with him, and God took him. So it took me years to get to the point where I could turn it around, right? Because like with the guilty feeling, it does not let you go. Like it follows you everywhere. Like you're never alone. You always think about it. Why did I do this? And the other person is gone, so you cannot apologize, right? So like in real life, you can go to the person, apologize what you did, and that you just thought it was be the best. So what I learned is to turn it around and say, okay, we all come here for a reason and we go for a reason. So what could be the reason that he just died at this time where I worked all the time, really didn't have time for him? And it could just be, that's the present he gave me. Just with his death, everything changed. And I could stop and thought, I don't want to live this life. I want to constantly do my best, but to make a difference, right? And not just work my butt off, to work more and to have more projects and have more tasks. I want to create an impact. I want to help others in a way that they can help others. So he really gave me, with his death, he really gave me the gift of being more conscious about myself, thinking about why I'm here and smelling the roses, being in the moment. So I'm very grateful. So I could turn the guilt I had, the horrible guilt I had, into so much gratefulness for his death that he gave me this present.
That's beautiful, Dagmar. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so grateful for your vulnerability.
You're welcome.
So I heard you say that you turned it around by finding the gift, finding gratitude, and choosing to be in the moment today. And let's see, in the chat box, I see, what are some of the things you can change and have control over? Our health and our well-being, the way we treat other people. Yes, be more kind. Yes, there are many things that we can do, that we can change.
That's awesome, Walter. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and Walter, that's what it boiled down to for me as well, is a lot of what Dagmar expressed was that I wanted to learn how to apologize. I wanted to learn how to practice empathy and humility. I wanted to learn how to demonstrate that someone had value in my life. And that meant even little things like not walking in the front door on the cell phone because it's so dismissive to whoever you're walking in the room to. You know, like those little things that really convey how much a person, how much you value them or where they are in terms of your life. So I really learned how to take responsibility, how to check myself, to, keep things simple. And really humility is one of the biggest things that I had to learn in order to resolve guilt. And, I appreciate you guys talking about grief. one of my clients that has recently been processing the passing of a parent has been dealing with this a lot. And there were some legitimate things that this person felt guilty for as well. They're very, very real, and it takes such courage to be willing to examine those times and those places inside of us and in our lives. And really, in my experience, the only way that we can grow through them is to be willing to go there and to examine it and to learn from it. And I love what you said, Dagmar, is, what was the purpose of him leaving when he did? And I think that's the other thing that I often remind myself of. In my belief system, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so this human experience is temporary, and spiritually speaking, this is just period of time, and the length of time on this plane is different for all of us, but it's all temporary.
Yeah. And let me just say one thing, and I can see Sala wants to share something too. What was interesting, all my friends forgave me, right? I told them, I had one friend, and she repeated all the time for years. She repeated, yeah, but it was really not good that you did that to him. Like, he really was a good man. You should have never done this to him.
Judgment.
And she did that, and my guilt did not go, right? It was like, whenever I saw her, I thought of that. So then she brought me to the point where I was upset. And I said to her, I tell you something. I'm suffering through that through years, and I'm working on that, and I'm grateful to him. It has nothing to do with you. So please, do your own situation, do your own stuff. I know it wasn't the best. I know that. I don't need this reminder. You're like my father's voice in my head. And I don't want to be like that. I just wanted to say he was just a beautiful person. Yeah, he was. But why don't you say what you want to say without telling me what I did wrong? Mm-hmm. And since then, she let it go, and then we could be friends again. Because before I tried to avoid her, like I thought when she called, I don't want to talk with you. And I hear this again. What did I wrong? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Sala?
Exactly, yeah. I'm just really nodding to both of you here because, these are also the situations and the things that either I've experienced or seen people experience. And so, and I think it's so important, Dagmar, what you mentioned, and also you, Dawn. It's like so many times, we're already burdened, but what we think is not, is not right, or what we think we've done wrong, and then just somebody else comes along and just, gives us an additional luggage, and then, you can take it. It's no problem. Just, take it with you. And I think it takes such strength, and also I think it takes such courage to finally set a boundary and say, no, this is not mine. I'm not taking this. I'm not taking this with me anymore. So, I'll try to resolve this in my time, in my way. And I would appreciate you being here with me. But, if you can't, maybe, we grow apart, or we go separate ways for a certain period. But, it's, I think that we ourselves have a lot of, we have a lot of things to deal with on our own. So in such situations, I think it's really, really important to know, who will support you no matter what. I think this is my biggest aha moment from my life, is that, no matter what happens or how hard it is, you really realize which people are those that can actually just, stand by you, no matter what, without judgment, without fear, without punishment, without, this. I think this would be really good for you because it worked for me, but just, just plainly and honestly, just being there.
That's what love is. Love is support without judgment, without condition.
Yeah.
May I say something? I know I talked a lot today. May I say one more thing?
Please.
Yeah.
So I just thought about, right, it has something to do totally with the topic, but very entrepreneurial. So for many years, I wanted to help every client. And some clients, they frustrated me endless, and I could not figure out why, right? So right now I'm in a situation, I'm going through this divorce and just takes a lot out of me. And all my clients are just beautiful lights. And I realized in the last year, I consciously choose which client is the closest to my beliefs and my ethics and what I want to do with my life and how do I want to make a difference and make an impact. And they are all like this, like it all comes together now. And now I'm in a situation where I need support and they're there. And so I could not do that with clients who would not fit like my whatever, soul spirit or whatever you want to say that. So I think letting guilt go helps you to not only to be yourself, but also to attract more the people who are like you and just make the world better, because we all want to make the world better together.
Yes, you are right on.
Yes. Yes. I don't want to say, that that sentence, preach Dagmar, but yes, so much yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not that I know better, just what I experienced.
Yeah, but I like it. For example, I really enjoyed Dawn and Dagmar because you both speak from your experience. It's a deep, either emotional or personal experience. It's not something, that you put on a PowerPoint and has a lot of buzzwords, but it's something that you really experience, and you've gone through a lot. We've all gone through a lot. We've grown, and we can be not just better ourselves, but also help others grow and enable them to develop and grow together with us or with our little support.
Yeah, you're so, we all go through so much. You're exactly right. And Walter has been so kind to share and be so vulnerable with us today as well. He's gone through so much. And that's really the thing, is that all of us in life, we have our pains and we have our crosses to bear, if you will. And the more we can have empathy for each other, the less we can judge each other, the more we're going to be united. Because the bottom line is we all just want to feel happy and free. And we're all on some sort of path trying to find that. And the more we can have patience and support each other, and like you mentioned earlier, Zala, just be there for each other. That is true empathy, true compassion, and that's the humanity of it that connects us all. And that's why I've become okay with and invested in sharing my life's experiences, because they're the most powerful ways to show the world, hey, me too. Just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean that, just because I got a degree doesn't mean I'm qualified to help you with your pain. In my experience, it's the fact that I'm a student of life that makes me qualified to help you with your pain. Not that the credentials hurt, but that's what unites us, is life.
Yeah. But you know what you just said, in Germany, a therapist is a person where you go there, you lay in the sofa for an hour, you talk, you pay them and you go. And unfortunately, I didn't know somebody like Dawn exists who would guide you through a process, right? Like, she helps me a lot with anything I'm going through, and she guides me through. She doesn't let me lay down on the sofa, just talk, and then let me go home with all my worries, my guilt, and just go there for a year, right? And perhaps after a year you feel better because you talk so much about it. After a while you cannot hear yourself anymore. But I have friends here where I live, and they go to therapists, and they go through horrible struggles. And when I ask them, so did you improve? What did your therapist suggest to you? They said, read a book. And I thought, are you kidding me? I could suggest to you, read a book. So that I feel so blessed with you, Dawn, because you talk the walk, and you talk the talk, and you walk the walk. Like, you're a human being. You're my friend. You're my advisor. You're my guidance, you my support, you my therapist, you everything, right? And that's, I think, what we forget in this world, and everybody in every other industries. Talking is cheap, and just sharing information is cheap, and feeling better than somebody else is cheap. But I believe we're really here to help others to be better human beings, better entrepreneurs, whatever. So it means I need to feel empathy, and I need to understand the situation they are going through. So I think that really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like we need to make a quote out of this, but not in a way that we then put it on all social media. But I think
absolutely, please.
Yes.
I'm an entrepreneur. I put this on social media too.
Okay.
How can you change the world? How can you make a difference if you don't give the thoughts to somebody else who couldn't come?
One of my most popular social media posts this week was something that a client said in a session. I tell them, I'm like, oh, that's tweetable.
Oh,
that's getting tweeted.
And I think that's the other thing, and I know we're at the end of the show. We're already over time a little bit. I know many clients who feel guilty being in the spotlight. Now suddenly, wow, I should have value. Me, what makes me so special? Why should I be in the spotlight? So they feel guilty. They don't want to be in the spotlight, but they want to share their message, right? Yeah. They want to make a difference. So it's really, and Dawn helps me a lot with that. Just how can they overcome this? So, and then Dawn is the one saying, okay, so that's how you can overcome this, because it's not just, it's what Dawn do you say? Who we are is who we are. What we do is what we do.
We do in life, we do in life.
So, like, I'm not another person in my personal life or in my business life.
Right. And it's so interesting that you said that I help you with that, because I think the two of you help me with that. The two of you give the confidence to say, hey, my message is valuable and I want to change the world with it. And that whole saying, what we do in life, we do in life, there is no difference between personal and professional. It's an interesting concept from a therapist perspective, because we actually are trained that our personal lives are not meant to influence the client's life. And so we have a code of ethics that's very, very cautious about what we share and when and what its purpose is. The guideline is that the motive needs to be to help the client. And that is absolutely my motive. But I think that especially in this global world, the lines are getting less and less clear. It's all out there. It's all grist for the mill.
Yeah. And you know what? Last thing. Every client helps me to grow. Every client helps me to become a better person, a better entrepreneur, to make a better and a bigger impact difference or whatever, right? It's frequencies. We give each other frequencies. So it's not only in one direction, it's in both directions. That's how it needs to be when you want to grow together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. There's always something you can explore together, improve together, learn from each other. So, like, I'm pretty sure with your clients, that is not a 2-month thing, and then they overcame this thing, and then they have never problems in their life again.
Right. And what I model for my clients, it's a lot easier for them to enroll in or get on board with. So when I'm modeling vulnerability and honesty, I find that clients that are hesitant to be completely honest or completely vulnerable, that once they realize that this is a safe place because I'm modeling honesty, they become more honest. Yeah. Whereas otherwise, they may hold back the entire time. They may get frustrated. I may get frustrated. And then we end up not feeling anybody's pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. I mean, Dawn, I was just thinking now when you were speaking, and Dagmar before it's like just, my personal observation is before, when we were joking about social media, it's now, I really have come also with my clients to this point when I say, for example, connect to those that you feel some kind of connection with. Either a post that attracts you, that gives you an aha moment, that gives you something to think about. Be willing to be there and, not just listen and all that we hear, but be willing to be there and learn more about people, more about others. Don't take them just, as somebody you want to do business with or somebody you want to sell something to, but be there, take interest. It's really, I think I say take interest so many times in the day that I will need to put a quarter somewhere. But so it's I think that is Wow, you've given me, I don't know what else to say, but it's on these Mondays, there's so much food for thought. That,
Well, thank you for joining us, Zala. And I'm just going to really quickly breeze through just to recap because we've spoken about so much, and I appreciate all the feedback and the participation. And Walter, I'm so grateful that you joined us and you brought your experience and your energy and your commitment to finding a solution to love and life. We were talking today about ways to lift the burden of guilt. And the first thing we discussed was learning to discern, is this guilt really mine or is it somebody else's stuff? And then I identified that it's really important to share your guilt in a safe place with someone who will just be there with you, have empathy, and not judge you, not make it right or wrong, but just be present to your pain. And then the next thing you need to do is to let go of being perfect and to start to get good at being good enough and know that that's a process and let it take its course. And the third thing to do is to change the things that you can. If you identify that you really did something to screw up, then take responsibility for yourself and change the things that you can to feel more sense of self-esteem and to feel like you can make a living amends, even if you don't have access to the person that you would like to apologize to. By doing it differently, it's the divine apology. So that's our chat today. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us live. Thank you to my two beautiful and talented co-hosts. And if you're watching the video, I appreciate you watching this far. I am impressed with you already. And always feel free to reach me on my website, dawnwigginstherapy.com, where you can check out all of my blog posts, past blabs. You can sign up for a free consult, where you can spend 30 minutes on the phone with me getting to know a little bit more about therapy and what it can do for you. There's all kinds of great stuff on the website and plenty of ways for you to reach me.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you next Monday at 3 o'clock, where we will either be talking about letting go or denial. I'm not sure which one, but it will be one of the two.
Walter, thank you so much for joining us and your awesome comments. And I hope next week you can join us live.
Yes.
Sana, you are always welcome to join us live.
okay.
Donna just posted your blog post, so everybody please go and check it out. We will upload and embed the video in a little bit later.
Super.
From YouTube. And don't forget, please, everybody, if you're listening live or to this recording, to sign up for Dawn's Blab account, to subscribe for it, because then you get all the reminders and see when a new show is coming up.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much,
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
So great. Have a great day or a great night, Zelda. Sleep well.
Sweet dreams.
I say to my daughter.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.